You have arrived at the Pokemon show where my co-host tries to convince me to change the name of the show each and every episode. This is Scarlet Fever, primarily because of Pokemon Scarlet, but also because I had Scarlet Fever. That's a story for a little later, but I went out and I found a Pokemon expert. When I met you, it was kind of like the Pokemon games. I was in New York City, I was exploring, looking around, and then here comes this dude in a lab coat with expertise, offering me 3 balls ready to go. That was our origins. This is Joseph, and we are here to talk everything about the latest, the greatest. Most importantly, though, what are we starting with?
Well, we got to start with the latest and greatest. Let's start with Lechonk, what I think is possibly the best move Game Freak has ever done, just in general, really.
Wow. Big words. Now, Joseph is like no jokes aside, he's a legit Pokemon master. This dude has put hundreds of hours into all the games, reached end game for all of them, blew through Sword and Shield. Like you were wearing the Sword and Shield. You crushed those games so quickly, and I know you know everything there is. So he is going to be a huge help to me on this Scarlet Violet journey. Let us know in the comments down below which game you are going to get. Is it Scarlet? Is it Violet? We'll obviously talk about that ourselves. Hit that like button, all that good stuff, and stay tuned for new episodes every freaking week as we build towards hopefully the best games ever in this franchise.
Yeah, I think it's working up towards that, so I'm excited. But yeah. Lechonk. I
have some concerns that I need to level with you, okay?
Please do.
So we read through Lechonk, and everyone loves him because he's cute, he's cuddly, he's gluttonous, he's chubby. But there's one part of the website that scares me, which is, in reality, the Pokemon's body is mostly muscle, not fat. So my concern here is that Lechonk is going to evolve and ruin himself. What thoughts?
I think anytime we get a Pokemon this iconic, number one, off the name alone, I think they knew what this was going to be. But yeah, I think anytime we get a Pokemon this cute, this iconic, this ready for mascot like fame,
right?
Usually the evolutions do ruin it. I think we've almost every time seen that happen. There's very little Pokemon that make it through that. I mean, you look at even Pikachu. People forget Raichu's even a thing. He gets shafted all the time. I don't think anything that Lechonk will evolve into will turn into something as iconic. I don't see it happening. And yeah, the muscle thing is definitely worrying. I imagine it's going to be some big pro wrestler pig.
Oh, jeez.
And that's just not the vibe that we really
it's supposed to be Lethic. Everyone says Lethic is where this is going.
Right.
But I really feel like they're setting this up for a redemption story. But what they have to understand is he's already redeemed. Like, this is not a pig that needs to be saved. Yeah.
No, out the gate, he is perfect. I think the people have spoken. I almost don't want him to evolve.
He could.
Just keep him.
What if this is just Lechonk? He is just holy. 1 foot 8 inches, 22.5 pounds, normal hog Pokemon. The issue I kind of take though is that he is going to be used by Nemona, which we assume is friend/rival. So she is starting off way ahead of us from the get-go. Whether we're Sprigatito, Fuecoco, Quaxley, doesn't matter. Nemona has the advantage, which that also kind of rubs me the wrong way.
Yeah, no, I mean, right out the gate. I mean, people they always talk about how much they want difficulty and they want to fight an uphill battle. Well, congrats, you're starting against Lechonk.
Yeah, this is not good. So my concern is that Game Freak is like, okay, everyone loves Lechonk. We can't wait to show the evolution, and then they show the evolution, and it's like this amazing fit, muscle bound. Pig person that's just fancy with some sunglasses and slick back hair, and that's not what we want. So I think we need to really petition to make sure that Lechonk stays chonky the whole way through.
Hashtag keep the chonk in Lechonk. Yeah, I think that's really the only way to go. I think they really are sitting on something great. I don't want to see them ruin it.
Plus
but
Lechonk.
We are talking about Game Freak.
Yes. Plus Lechonk. Yeah, the hits come early here. The Lechonk is definitely going to be someone that we need to put in the background. They definitely better release plushies, and we better be able to put him out here. we're obviously going to take a lot of look at the trailer today and what they debuted this week. I'm very interested in that. One thing I want to touch on, though, before we even get there is I've heard a lot of rumors that this is going to be one of the biggest generations of Pokemon in terms of pure numbers. Mm-hmm. As a longtime lover, do you think they're starting off hot with the few we've seen?
I definitely do. I think it is interesting that so far everything we've seen hasn't included any evolutions really, because if you go back to even like the Sword and Shield reveal, I know that it was similar in the sense that we probably got the same amount announced, but if I remember correctly, we saw things like Corviknight, things that weren't just like first stage evolutions very early on. So I do think it's interesting to just show kind of these baby Pokemon out the gate. But as far as design-wise, I think we're really sitting on some great stuff, because I remember when Sword and Shield was announced, there were some things that I definitely needed to warm up to personally. But I think all of them are pretty great. And we got to see the electric, rat of this generation, which is awesome. I do think it's a bit of a downgrade, not design-wise. Design-wise, he's perfect. I love him. But I do know, I believe that, yeah. I do believe the typing for them is just pure electric.
Yes. Which
is a little upsetting. I was hoping for electric fire based on the design. You had
the orange. Yeah.
The orange. But apparently it's just strictly lore based that the fur is going to, keep it insulated. I think that's kind of what they were going with. But yeah, design-wise, I'm in love with all of them. I think it's pretty great.
Yeah, I get like a very almost like resetting to Gen 1 type vibe from these Pokemon, as opposed to, it's a keychain, it's a basket on a bicycle, it's a ghost light bulb. I do love that we have like an Oddish type character, we have a Pikachu type character, we have a little Lechonk. I think they are kind of they seem to be in their wheelhouse, but in like the OG wheelhouse, which I love to see. Scarlet Violet, big hype, right? First open world game. It's Switch. It feels like this is sort of the culmination point maybe for all of their efforts on the system thus far. What was your instant take after that trailer? Like we see, the co-op, we see Lechonk. What are you feeling after that 3 minutes?
It's tough because right out the gate, it's hard for me to not be excited, especially coming out of Legends Arceus, which I know is a divisive topic for a lot of Pokemon fans. I think a lot of people outside the Pokemon community are looking at it as like a huge step forward.
Loved it.
For me personally, I thought it was. I thought the gameplay loop was fantastic in terms of really differing itself from the previous generations and every spin-off game event that came before it. So I was excited to see that we are keeping the open world. If anything, it's bigger now because it's like an actual open world. They're not doing the Monster Hunter areas, which was cool. But out the gate, seeing open world, this is what Pokemon has been ever since Red and Blue. This you are going on a big adventure, but now there's no limitations because there really shouldn't be. So I think seeing it be revealed in this way was very exciting because it's okay, they're finally doing it. It's finally happening. We're not getting just a wild area. We're getting really big open world. The only negative I will say from the trailer, and this is just because I've been, such a big Pokemon fan for so long, is there's that little part towards the end when it does kind of show those 3 different areas. I don't know if exactly the part I'm referencing, but it showed what looked like a little bit of a stadium.
Yes.
Another part. Yeah. So that part, I'm hoping and I'm imagining that those are gyms. Those are areas that leading to something like that. But I am kind of scared that they may do a Sun and Moon and try to change the format of how gyms work. So that fear kind of popped up. If it's the normal Pokemon, go out, get your 8 badges, this time in whatever order, and it scales with you, that's amazing. I would love that, and that's kind of the direction I want it to go in. But if they go the route of like, hey, we're not doing gyms, we're going to give you a different challenge, it's hard for me to not be a little bit upset, because I know like Arceus, for instance, didn't have gyms.
Right.
And while I do love that game, gyms is so intrinsically like, you know, cooked into what Pokemon is, that it's hard for me to really fully enjoy a game that takes it out, because it just feels a little less Pokemon. So everything was perfect. Open world, 4-player co-op, looked great. All the Pokemon look great. I think the graphics look fantastic. I think they're going more stylized for the environments, which is something Sword and Shield didn't really do. Like, they tried to make it just look like not real, obviously, but you know the whole tree thing that happened.
Yeah.
Tree gate on Pokemon. I think everything's looking good, but the gym thing is just probably the only worry I walked away with.
Yeah, I feel like they towed a line of like, we're gonna show a lot, but we're not gonna show a lot. And I think pre Legends, I would have been like, oh dear, we're going down a dangerous road again, where they're like open world co-op, and it's like just a bunch of, you know, they're just obscuring what it really is. It's just a bunch of shadows hiding the truth that, oh, this is the same old Pokemon. But post Legends, I'm like, okay, they don't have to show everything. I have faith that they really are going forward. I have faith that they're really evolving, and they're clearly taking a drastically different approach by having 4-player co-op and by having approach the story in any way you want. Like, there is no way this isn't different. And I know what you're saying about gyms. I would love gyms as well. I think regardless, though, like, formula has to be somewhat different, right? Like, how do you even have a story in this game that you can approach in any order? Difficulty is a concern for me. Pokemon, though, look super hype. I like the world. I like what they did with the trainers. I feel like, you know, they can't settle on an art style. We've had a different art style for every Pokemon game on Switch, but I like what they're doing here. I think it looks really good. And I was surprised, based on the parallel Sword and Shield trailer, that they didn't talk more mechanics. And so do you think, like, are there more unique mechanics for this game, or do you think open world is like the mechanic?
That's a good question. I mean, we are in a generation shift, so there's definitely going to be some gimmick that they do create. And I know that, you know, off camera, me and you spoke of a couple of things, and I'm sure, you know, we will touch up on it. But as far as what this generation is going to do mechanically moving forward, I can't imagine Game Freak isn't going to try something different. What I'm hoping, though, is that it's something more along the lines of like a Mega Evolution rather than, say, a Gigantamax or a Z move, you know? Something that just, like, visually and you know, as far as like the battle system goes, will change up the gameplay. I mean, I'll even go as far to say, as Arceus pushed the formula forward so far with the fast and heavy moves, even that little twist to the battles added so much more. I don't think in a competitive sense that would work, so I know that, you know, Game Freak probably won't do anything like that, because they do want, you know, with Nintendo, they never really say how much they care about competitive play, but when it comes to something like Pokemon, where there's an actual, like, you know, competitive scene that is huge, I do think that they have to keep that in mind a little bit. So I imagine if they do introduce a new gimmick, it probably is going to be something that is just tied to the battle system. I can't imagine they're going to do anything too crazy, because like you said, the open world, I think, is kind of a big enough promise alone.
The central thing.
That I do hope they focus mainly on that, and not some type of, like, you know, just gimmick that, again, isn't going to hold anybody's attention, because the promise of what the game already is, I think, is already setting the stage for, like, this is probably going to be the biggest Pokemon game, you know?
It has 2 professors. It is twice as big already.
Yeah.
Two professors that are...
And Lechonk.
Yeah, and, well... Lechonk, you know, we added a Lechonk, we added 2 professors, we subtracted a Masuda, and things are great. So it's how it works.
We're in the net positive.
We're in the net positive. People were inspired by these professors. There was a lot of love, you know, maybe new feelings that I think people felt that they hadn't experienced before. I was surprised to see the outpouring of just palpitations for Professor Sada and Professor Turo, which, if you don't know, is a play on the Spanish words Posada and Futuro, I believe, for past and future, since this is going to be a Spanish-inspired region. The professors are pretty sick looking. We clearly have Jurassic Park girl, and we clearly have future. He looks exactly like the dude Kit from Kit and Krista, the Nintendo Minute Show. It's very spooky. That dude that just, I don't know. He's that guy.
He looks like a lot of people. He looks like that one Giga Chad meme. He looks like I've mentioned Zayn from One Direction.
Okay.
I mean, I guess he's not from One Direction. The dude is just, he's a very, I don't know.
I want to point out that they are young.
They have to be, yeah.
For
I imagine
right?
these are some of the youngest professors we have. I know we don't always have old professors. You know, we had like, even Professor Elm from Gen 2, I think, was definitely younger than, say, Oak. But, you know, with like Sycamore, I think was probably the youngest from X and Y. So we're definitely, I imagine he's around that age, maybe like mid-20s, you know?
Eligible bachelor.
No, they are definitely, which I think a lot of the fan base is glad to hear.
Do you think both professors are in each game?
Yes. I mean, I can go into my theory about this.
Let's hear it.
Want,
Spill.
I can't imagine that one of them is not the evil team of the game. Like, I really do think we're going a Ruby Sapphire route.
Okay.
Where there are two teams in the game, but one acts as an ally and one acts as a enemy. This time turning it into, hey, the professor, because that's something, I mean, one thing Pokemon main series has always done, you know, despite what people may think, is that the stories do always try to play on that original game. Like, every game since then has tried to take something and remix it. So you look at something like, and I guess spoilers for some stories, but you look at something like Sun and Moon.
Yeah. You
have your professor who is technically the first Pokemon champion who is also a professor. Like, you know, Kukui was someone who was like, you're introduced to him. He's the first person that you essentially meet. He sets you up on the journey, and then he's the last person you battle. And that was something that was really interesting and really cool. You know, you look at other things like, I mean, I think it's just something that, you know, the team in Pokemon Sword and Shield, Yell, or whatever their team name was, they were kind of like a red herring, where you thought that these guys were going to cause trouble, you thought they were going to be the issue, and then it turns out it's the chairman of the region. You know, like, they always do try to switch it up a little bit. And so, you know, with this game, we haven't seen anything pointing to a conflict, other than the fact that we have a team that believes something with the past and something with the future. Even their legendaries, the bots legendaries of the game, kind of pushes that narrative. So what I'm thinking is, like, depending on which game you get, or even if, like, let's say the story, like which lab you choose isn't tied to the game. Obviously, I imagine it is, but let's say they do give you a choice, right? I do think the other one has to, I mean, just based off of their beliefs alone, it's hard not to imagine some type of conflict.
And look at those eyebrows. Like, they could be helpful or they could be hurtful.
Exactly.
They don't have
both
just
sides.
like
It's just
right.
You know?
They don't have the passive eyes of Professor Oak. They both look like they could be up to something not good. For me, the conflict is going to be that Lechonk Evolution. So I don't really past future. Like, I don't really care. It's just about
yeah. I don't even need an enemy team. This alone is
You mentioned the box legendaries, and I am going to, you know, with my less than expertise on Pokemon, I'm going to say that I think these are the coolest box legendaries maybe since the original games.
They are sick. They are genuinely, like, I don't know. It's funny because what you said at the start of the podcast, I think is so funny when you look at these two, where like they definitely went the original approach to the new generation's design, where it's like these are creatures, like these things totally are like you can see them in the wild, you're not going to be thrown off.
Right.
These two legendaries are so out of like left field, what I would have imagined. You know, they number one, let's talk about the fact that they're totally motorcycles.
They're motorcycles.
Like that's,
yeah.
I mean,
you called it out. You texted me that, and I was like, "There's jetpacks. This guy's got a wheel," and you're like, "It's motorcycles." Like, oh, it was just like a moment. Like it all came together because that is 100%. They are going to transform into motorcycles.
There's no way around it. I mean, everything about this is leading to the fact that you are going to be able to ride these prehistoric and futuristic reptilians. Like there's no way you look at them and you're not like, yeah, these things are Transformers. But yeah, I've seen a lot of people talk about the Digimon comparison where they're like, oh, these things are Digimon.
Okay.
They are, you know, and I see it, but also like stylistically speaking, and maybe it's just because, you know, I'm an artist. I cannot see Digimon DNA in the style. Like you can totally tell that these are Pokemon.
Okay.
Granted, I think having a huge wheel protruding from your chest is probably not something anyone thought Pokemon would do. But as far as like the visual like look of these two, I think it'll take time, but it's going to be the same thing that happened with Solgaleo and Lunala, or whatever I don't know the moon legendary. There we go. Now you know which one I picked in that generation. But I think those two, when they were shown, were very different as well, because they went the more like cosmic route.
Right.
And even you look at like the Ultra Beasts, those were not Pokemon. I mean, that was the whole pull of it, was that they're from like another universe. So I don't think it's the first time we've seen Pokemon kind of go outside their usual visual identity for, especially not legendaries. So I'm excited. Even Zekrom and Reshiram were like just two big dragon things. I mean, they were so sick. These things are motorcycles.
I have two comments on this. One, you got me all in my memories now. I was thinking about, I was young when I watched Digimon, and my favorite was Gatomon, the little cat with Kari. I had some little cartoon crush on her, and so that was where my allegiance lied. That's one. Mm-hmm. Two, how much you want to bet this game ends with a minigame race of you on your legendary versus the other professor on the other legendary?
That's so sick. All right, I'm glad this is documented because yes, that totally happens.
a Pokemon race or maybe it's not even a race. Maybe you have to get somewhere, like reach this like secret layer. Movement has to be a big part of these games because it's an open world. I don't think like a bicycle works as well. I wonder if there's going to be other Pokemon. I know that Legends Arceus is developed, obviously independently and separately, and I think that's one thing that maybe some people are quick to jump to. Is like, oh, this is just a step up from that, but like timing wise, there's no way. Like obviously ideas influence each other, but this is not just like a follow up to Legends.
No.
But that game did introduce a lot of interesting movement in a 3D space, and so I feel like this game is going to similarly utilize some of those ideas. I have to believe there's going to be other Pokemon that are vehicle inspired, and then this is just sort of like your culmination, fastest, bestest, travel method, which I think is going to be interesting. With that all being said, I kind of hinted at the start, but I am still Scarlet leaning. I've always been Scarlet leaning. It's in my DNA with the Scarlet Fever. I will forever have that. That stuck to me. And by the way, I had Scarlet Fever in 2018, so this was only like 4 years ago. Fresh wounds. I like Corridon. I think he looks great. I like Professor Sada. I don't like the past as much as the future, but it's just, I don't know. I was Pokemon Red so much that I feel like I have to follow up with Scarlet. Whereas I've heard through the grapevine that you are leaning Grape after an initial Scarlet start. You've been what's changed?
I've been turned. Yeah, I think really what it is I'm very similar to you in the fact that I was red originally as well, and design wise, Scarlet like does have the better bots legendary in my opinion. I do believe that, but I think that the future aspect was a big enough pull for me. Like I think that was the point where I was like, unfortunately, I have to make this choice. Both professors look fantastic, so that really didn't go too much into my thought process, but I don't want to make the mistake where like I get myself into a past
don't go back
and then and then what am I doing, you know? But I am definitely looking to get Violet. I think that's just kind of where my heart lies, and also it just works for this because now we get both sides of the coin. And you know, I don't think there's a Violet Fever. Regardless, I wouldn't want to get that. I think I'm good.
Definitely stay away from all fevers, Violet or otherwise. To me,
there's one
like
takeaway.
I obviously like the boxes and I always like the colors, but to me, like, it is those exclusive Pokemon that sometimes do tip the scales, and so I think we may have some TBD on that front. Like, there is a chance that somebody pops up where it's like, oh my gosh, I have to swap teams, I have to swap sides here. I will say, like, for me, as my main Pokemon time is the beginning, I feel like the natural look and feel of Scarlet's whole thing just appeals to me more, whereas Miraidon gives me more of these vibes of like the modern era of Pokemon. I mean, he's got pixelized eyes, like it just gives me more of that modern era, and nothing against it. I don't know, something about him it just feels off for me. But if this generation is big and we do see a strong lineup on Violet, you know, I might have to bribe you into the trade. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I think the good thing is, like, no matter what, regardless of what game someone gets, it does look like this game is promoting, you know, multiplayer more than any game in the past. So I think it's almost better to have people, you know, just pick different sides at this point, because, you know, I never thought the version exclusive Pokemon was a big enough pull, which I guess it's just like, because I always imagined I would end up getting the others anyway, you know, especially with online trading. It just became something that's really a non-issue. But with this game, I think it's so much more interesting now that with the 4-player co-op, it just seems like multiplayer is really going to be taken in a place that it's never been before. And one thing that, with that being said, that will kind of be interesting is, let's say, you know, Zach, me and you are playing together. We are going through the story. You have Scarlet, I have Violet. Do our exclusive Pokemons end up in each other's world, or like that's the other thing? Like, because then that would also promote play between versions. Because now it's like, I don't even have to trade you. If me and you are playing together, our exclusive Pokemon would probably, I imagine, blend. I don't know. You see, this is where the open world thing gets a little bit worrisome, because I know when Sword and Shield was announced and the wild area was shown, and you see people going to each other's camp, that wasn't really what was happening. It was more like ghost players. Like, you see people in the same area, but interacting with one another was not something that was like really possible unless you were in the same room with them and or talking online. This looks like it's real time 4-player co-op. Am I going to be seeing the same Pokemon roaming that you are?
Yeah.
Or
there's so many questions, like, I think, that just develop in terms of like, what is instanced, what isn't? Are you in one player's world? Is it a collaborative server? What actions and gameplay can you do together? What has to be done separately? Are there 4-player mini games or battles that can all be accomplished simultaneously? Like, how does that all work? And, you know, the trailer, like, it teased it, but it didn't really give us any set idea of exactly how this works, except, like you said, it is real co-op. Like, this is true co-op. It's not any sort of pretend or just in a specific location. They very much highlight 4 trainers going in 4 different directions to let you know, like, this world is all of yours. But yeah, like, I don't know if we can even begin to really guess how they're going to handle that.
It's impossible, because we can't even use anything that came before it, because it's taking so many pieces of other games that they have attempted and throwing it all into one. And the problem is that we don't know to what extent, you know, we don't know how far they're pushing this. I mean, even as far as the mechanics of the game itself, we don't know. Like, unfortunately, I'm positive we're going back to like standard battles, standard catching. Like, I don't think we're having the Legend Arceus, you know, catching mechanic, which unfortunately is upsetting, because I do think that like just being able to pull up and just catch as many things as possible.
It was so natural, and it really did feel like hey, this is finally Pokemon.
Exactly. Like it really gave it that. I mean, I will say, like, on one hand, it did make catching Pokemon feel more like a small task. Like, you know, you could just pull up to a spawn and just kind of spam the Pokeball, and while one is shaking, you already caught like 3 other. But I do think that gameplay loop again was so enticing, and it really made the thought of catching them all like not only possible, but not something that was a chore. So like, I know we're not getting that back. I'm not even going to be hopeful on that, because in the trailer we don't see that happen at all. We also, from what I remember, we do see crouching is back, so you are going to be able to sneak up on Pokemon, but the Pokemon don't seem to react like they do in Arceus. Like, they don't seem like, I feel like we're going more the Sword and Shield route, where they're just in the overworld, and if you walk up to them, you walk up to them, you know. I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. Every JRPG does that. You know, I was just playing the most recent Tales of game, and you know, this thing is like huge, but it does the same thing where it's just these creatures are just on like a pre-route. You know, they're already like programmed to walk in a certain direction. If you walk into them, you get into the battle. So I do think Pokemon's doing that now. But like, if I'm in the game with you and we both walk up to the same Pokemon, is it now a double battle versus one? Like, I just don't know how it's gonna play. Oh, my Siri just went off for some reason.
Siri knows.
Yeah. Siri was about to tell us the answer, and I didn't listen.
You ruined it, man.
I know.
It feels like the 4-player co-op is just breaking all rules, and then the fact that they did confirm that you can approach the story in any order, which they say, and I'm going to read you the exact quote because I just think this is a wonderful quote. Not only is this 4-player co-op, but they really want you to know that this is a world that you can discover new Pokemon and explore unfamiliar areas with your friends and family, opening the door to an adventure more precious and fun than ever. This is going to be the most precious Pokemon. I don't even know what that begins to mean. A precious Pokemon adventure.
I just hope it's Lechonk, you know? That's what they meant by that.
It's so, yeah. Everything just boils back down to Lechonk is kind of what we're learning here. It's the conflict, it's the purpose, it's the rival, it's all of it.
Yeah, it's everything. I imagine when they were starting the planning of Gen 9, they just plopped that design up and they were like, build from here. Well, I'm interested in, like, what were your, I mean, I know, again, we spoke about it, but like, as somebody who has definitely played Pokemon, you know, pretty much all the time, but hasn't really, I guess, you know, submerged themselves in the media and made it their identity. Do you think this game is being set up to be the future of Pokemon?
I think it has to be. I just feel like I feel like we just got such a sliver of the vision. All these questions that we have, you know, you look at past trailers, I don't think you have those questions. Yes, you can be like, ooh, exactly how does Gigantamaxing work? Ooh, you know, these Dynamax battles. But with this, it really is like, what does it mean that it's truly open? What does it mean that the story can be approached in any order? What does that even mean for the story? How is the difficulty being handled? How are, you know, like we said, the instance world, or whose world is it? The exclusive Pokemon, the versions merging together, the professors, like, there's so many things. I mean, I wonder, like, what if you and I are playing and you're like, I'm going to go beat gym number 4. And I'm like, no, I wanted to beat, like, how does that even work? What do you have access to? What do I have access to? And I think for as long as Pokemon has really tried to create the exact same experience over and over again, no matter what, this is new, this is fresh, and it will dramatically influence whatever happens from this point. I think the rules have kind of changed, and now our feedback and our reactions to this will inevitably be different than any other. And I think the way they handled Legends Arceus gives me hope that, like, okay, they are taking steps forward, they're making cool choices. The pause I have is just Game Freak is very, I feel, traditional, and they stick to their guns and they stick to what they know. And all of these questions seem like it takes, or would take, like a very dynamic, forward-thinking game. And I just wonder how, like, again, like, what if you go and do something ahead of schedule? Am I just locked out of that content then? Do you advance the story and I don't? How do these things happen? The only analogy I have from Nintendo is either Breath of the Wild or Zelda Link Between Worlds, the 3DS game, where you were able to sort of approach the dungeons in any order. That's very different, though, because it is a action-based game that is predicated on item acquisition and skill, and this is a turn-based RPG. So, I'm curious to know your thoughts, because in my initial reaction video, I said, like, the only way I can see this working is that the levels are dynamic depending on the order that you approach. If it is gyms, gym 1 will be, level 10, gym 2 will be level 20, and the Pokemon, the leader, doesn't matter, it's just whichever order you approach them. I don't know that they have the chops to do, like, a truly dynamic, constantly evolving difficulty based on your level.
I don't think that is something we're going to see. I mean, I think they've already been kind of handed everything they needed to do this whole gym out of order thing, at the very least, where it's like you said, the scalable levels is something that has, again, never really been an issue because everyone already knew that was the answer. Just right. I go to this gym first, all level 10, next gym, all level 20. Like, even in the anime, I know that there are like, in extended media, there's times where you see gym leaders have evolved teams, like, in like Black and White, for instance, Black and White 2, there was like the world champion thing that you get. It's like end content where you just play like tournaments against previous gym leaders and previous main characters. It was a really awesome thing, but you get to see, the reason why it was so interesting is you get to see these teams end game. So you could see Brock, but he'll have like a complete end game team. Yeah.
Which is super cool to me.
It's awesome, and all it does is it builds your characters. You know what I mean? Like, there's no negative to it. You're just making your world more interesting, because it's like, right. Okay, they're not locked in. Like, Brock isn't a trusted gym leader because he has a level 10 Onyx. Like, it becomes like these people know what they're doing. They just scale it based on challengers. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I think that does more for the world building than anything else. Now, as far as like the world scaling around it, I don't know that that's possible, and I also don't know that it would be the right way to go about it, because I think what's so amazing about the idea of Pokemon is, like, I do want to be able to go out and find a level 90, crazy strong monster and not be able to take it on, I think Arceus handled it very well, where it's like, you can go into the first area and you could run into like a level 40. I know, like, for instance, there's an Infernape very early on. This is a starter Pokemon, final stage evolution, and it's like level 50, and you could run into it very early. And it's like something like that is just, it feels more real. It makes the world feel as if like these Pokemon are really living in it. And it didn't break the game, because at the end of the day, even if you catch it, number one, that's a reward for you. But also, if you catch it, it's like, it's not going to listen to you, because Pokemon has set up that rule for ages now, where if you don't have a certain number of badges or you don't meet certain requirements, in the case of Legends Arceus, it was like your, I forgot how they refer to it, your rank. Like, if your rank wasn't a certain amount, Pokemon over a certain level won't listen to you. Right. So, they'll hurt themselves, or they'll do a different move, or they'll slack off for a turn. So it's like, we already have these systems in place where it's like, go ahead, throw a level 30 in the opening area, entice the player to be like, am I going to risk losing the battle and losing, any items or whatever? Or do I walk out with a level 30 very early game that now works as kind of a glass cannon because I can use it and potentially get it to fight for me, or, it messes everything up. So I think really everything that's needed to make the open world non-story progression based gameplay work is already in place. It's just a matter of like, what's going to keep us interested,
Yeah. And how do they do that plot wise? How do they,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I wonder if there is some sort of spoke and wheel system where like, okay, you approach a decision point and you can go A, B, C, but you still have to complete A, B, C before you get to D, E. I feel like there's got to still be some gating, whether based on traversal, HMs, whatever. Like, just because it is open world doesn't mean that you immediately gain access to every area. You can see it, you could approach it, but I still think they have to have some gating. The only part that concerns me is that they're choosing to use words like "you're free to explore at your leisure" and "the most precious and fun adventure." I just hope that doesn't mean like, oh, wander and just chill. Like, I hope it means they say something to the effect of you will of course journey to hone your skills as a Pokemon trainer, which to me is like main story, gyms, badges, whatever. But many more discoveries and stories await you. And to me, that seems like it's teasing side quests. I would hope that the beginning of side quests, we did see those kind of, show up definitely in Legends Arceus. And I would hope that here we have more than just defeat the evil team and defeat the gym leaders, that there are things, hey, this dude wants you to catch, 50 Lechonk because he's a cool guy and he needs the memes, and you have to, that's something that your team can go do together and expedite.
Yeah.
I am so interested. I feel like Pokemon Company can either like blow us away or they can really let us down. And I don't know if this is foolish, but I'm leaning more towards the former. I think they are going to really surprise us with the fact that this is Pokemon a new gen, and really a new gen. I feel like Sword and Shield was them learning what a home console Pokemon can do. It very much felt like an extended 3DS game. I feel like Legends Arceus is like a spin-off, and I feel like this is like, hey, we've had the Switch for 5.5 years. Let's go. Let's deliver.
Yeah.
Not let's go. Sorry, we've already done let's go.
That's the sore spot.
I really like the art style of Let's Go though. It's very nostalgic.
I thought Let's Go was a fantastic game. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I thought it was a very good breath of fresh air. Do I want another one? Not necessarily. If we got another one, I wouldn't be mad, because I understand people just think that like Game Freak only has one team, and it's so apparent because like when Gen 9 was announced, I'll never forget, like people were pissed at first. Like the initial reaction is always like, oh yes, Gen 9. Right. But like on Twitter, I follow so many fans, like people who have been playing Pokemon as much as me, where it's like, they're just, they understand the landscape of it, and they're upset that this is coming out because they're like, we just got Arceus in, not even a couple of months ago when the announcement happened. But it's like, let's be real here. Game Freak is not having a turnover rate of a game a year. That's not, it's just not what's going on here. I mean, you even look at Sword and Shield, it was supposed to be a 3DS game. They were making it to be a 3DS game. They had no intentions of going to the Switch, and that's just Game Freak in general. They think they really understand, more than say Nintendo does for some reason. And it's like they didn't want to commit to a system that they thought was going to fail. And, granted, the Wii U gave them enough reason to believe it. But now, like you said, it's been 5.5 years that we've had probably the best bit of hardware that Nintendo has ever put out. You have to at some point be like, I need to jump on this, and we need to do, our best work yet. Because if we don't, we're not going to be the same heavy hitter that we are. Pokemon's gonna sell over 10 million every game. Like there's no doubt about it. But at some point you have to realize like the sales aren't everything. I mean, at the end of the day, bottom line it is, but what it does for a series and what it does for the landscape of gaming in general, I think is becoming a lot more enticing to these companies, because you're looking like Breath of the Wild set up gaming for the next 10 years.
Right.
I mean, you look at how many games are now Breath of the Wild, that it's now we're at the point where Breath of the Wild 2 now needs to be this thing that is like, above that.
Right.
So I think we are finally seeing a Pokemon game that's like, you know what, let's have an identity that's not just what it's been for the past 25, something years. Let's do something different. Now,
I hope.
In regards to the, Breath of the Wild comparisons, I'm a little worried because, like you mentioned before, what Legend of Zelda is and what Pokemon is are completely different beasts. Like, a turn-based RPG is not as freeform as what Breath of the Wild was. Like, what made Breath of the Wild so great isn't just the open world. That wasn't it. It was the systems were so like thought out that you're still seeing people do things now that like nobody knew was possible back then. However, it did sacrifice a lot. It sacrificed dungeons. It sacrificed a real story. Don't get me wrong. There was an amazing story and one that I thought was beautiful, and Age of Calamity, really was able to expand on that. But it was all told in flashbacks. It was all told, after the fact. Pokemon can't be that, because as much as people don't want to admit it, Pokemon's story is really what I think has kept a lot of the fan base going for so long. It's why when a game comes out, we're like, oh yeah, it's the same game every time, but I'm still gonna get it, because what Pokemon is like, it's the characters, it's the way like the story's told, even though by the end of it you're fighting some big god creature that's a Pokemon that controls time, space, reality, and like it's ridiculous. You're 10 years old, come on. But it's the characters, it's just everything is so iconic. I think that's why Legends Arceus was also handled so well, because we're seeing like predecessors to characters that we know and love. Like I'm gonna tell you right now, and this one's actually a spoiler for anybody, so I don't know how, whatever, but at the end of Legends Arceus, the real ending where you fight the real final battle, it being do you care if I
go for it?
I don't know if you
please tune Volo, out for 15 out.
Yeah, so Volo, the person who's been helping you, the clear or I guess the predecessor to Cynthia, turns out to be the final big bad. And there was a moment where finally he reveals himself. He's like, yeah, I was trying to bring Arceus back. I'm gonna, destroy the world, whatever. There's a point where Cynthia's music comes in. It starts to play her theme, but it's now the Arceus kind of rendition of it. And like, I was 12 again, playing Diamond and Pearl for the first time, getting, completely beat down by Cynthia. And it's like, that's Pokemon. That moment right there, I didn't care about all the evolution that Arceus brought to the table. I didn't care about all the new systems. I didn't care about all that. There was just a moment where I was like, this was the through line to every game, and this was the payoff that I got. And that's what I want to see. I want to see payoff to like, I think everything that came before. And I think, like you said, like even having the designs kind of go back to that Gen 1 feel of like, this is natural, this is real, these creatures would and could exist. It's just really good to see that. So I hope they don't throw everything that made Pokemon away to chase this Breath of the Wild, kind of approach to game design.
I think that's a really good perspective, and how they make the story meaningful when it is 4-player co-op, when that just inherently gives you the tendency to just like mash through things, get on with your friends. How they juggle that, past and future, man, that's these games. How they're going to handle that is really going to be interesting. Let's talk about the gas stations, because something about these gas stations just speak, I think, about the forward progression of the game. It's clearly a mobile Pokemon Center, and that alone is interesting. I feel like Legends Arceus sort of set itself up to be the or as live servicey as a Pokemon could get, where we get constant updates, they throw new quests on the bulletin boards, and that didn't happen. We got one update, and then, I don't know if they have more planned, but as of right now, it's like, that's not what they're doing. This seems like the game where they could, And I don't know why the gas station makes me think of this, but it seems like they could just throw new content and be like, oh, go check at the Pokemon Center. Like they uncovered a new species or there's a new quest or, something. I feel like this is the one where they could continue to feed new content. Now, I don't think that's going to happen because I don't feel like Game Freak is there yet or wants to be there. Rather, like, I don't think they want to be Destiny or Fortnite. But I have this, like, after being inundated in Animal Crossing New Horizons, I do have this hope that there is more than just an expansion pass. I hope that there is a regular set of updates that would keep the game sort of living and breathing in a very fun way, especially with the multiplayer and especially with these gas stations.
Yeah. I think that's a really interesting point. And I do agree, something about the gas station Pokemon Center does kind of lend itself credence to the fact that, like, you're going to be going here a lot, probably for quests and stuff, like you said. I think it's the idea that these things are probably going to be placed everywhere in the, like, wilderness, so I think that kind of pushes the narrative of, like, you're going to be going here a lot. It's not going to be like a normal Pokemon Center where you only get there when you reach a town,
right?
Like, the town is the safe haven. Now, no longer, I'm sure there's going to be Pokemon Centers in towns if there are towns. I hope there are towns.
Those flags make me worried. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. There's these fire flags.
I know the exact.
Yeah.
Yes. That's what I mean. Like, it's just like, it's so scary. It's so scary seeing this in Game Freak's hands because it's like, I wanna have complete faith in them, but there's just nothing that. It's, as a fan, it's hard to think that they're going to knock this one completely out of the park. There's going to be downsides, of course. The live service thing. It really is the difference between Western and Eastern gaming, I think, where it's like, because I mean, like, you look at anything Nintendo does, they're slowly getting there. Like, you see Nintendo is really trying. I mean, even with like SwitchForce, for instance, like we're seeing something where it's like, in the months coming, we're gonna get new cosmetics. Like,
right.
They're working towards it. Game Freak is just so, we're going to put the game out the way we want to, and it's going to be out. It's going to be done. With Legends Arceus, they did do that one major update, which was very appreciated. I think they added a lot of interesting things. Sword and Shield obviously had the 2 expansions, but a part of me believes that those were probably supposed to be in the game from the start. I don't like that idea. I think that narrative is kind of like dismissive to what the original game was, like the base game.
Right.
The base game still was like a 40-hour adventure if you're rushing through it. So it's not like we were skimping out on content, but at the same time, like, Sword and Shield became a better game when the 2 expansions came out. So it's hard not to think like this should have been released that way.
Yeah.
So with that being said, I think what they can do is they can do kind of, and it's something Game Freak has done a lot, this like fake, live service where the Pokemon Center could get side missions that are probably constantly updating, but they're not really anything new. You'll always have content, but they're not like in Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, which is like probably the best spin-off for Pokemon, by the way. You can play that game for years to come because there's just so many like missions that they just kind of like generate, so there's always content there, but it's not like they're updating it, so I think I see them unfortunately more going that route where it's like, just endless missions of like, hey, catch, like you said, like 20 Lechonks,
right?
And then just switch out the Pokemon. But yeah, ideally, I would love to be able to have a game that's constantly evolving.
I mean, how cool would it be if, let's just say this gen has 130 Pokemon, but they save back, 20 of them. So for the first 20 weeks after the game comes out, every week, the professor like sends you an email and it's like, oh, a new species, was uncovered, and it makes the world feel so live-like. I mean, that was something I always wanted in Animal Crossing that they never really did. They did regular updates, but I wanted something from the sense of like, this is an actual world. So much of this is about your immersion with the characters. There is a parallel though with Animal Crossing and Pokemon of like your villagers, your Pokemon team, and you're supposed to really buy into this. And how cool if a new villager was spotted on a mystery island, or if a new Pokemon was spotted out in the wild. And like you said, they won't do that, but I feel like, man, there is an opportunity to make something that is so dynamic and interesting in that way that does keep us coming back in a live servicey way that still stays true to Pokemon. I'm not talking about battle passing it up, and it's not a battle royale all of a sudden, but doing some fun stuff, or even with like regional variants where all of a sudden a new regional variant spawns off on this island and nobody knows how it got there, and you have to investigate like that. That would be so cool. I don't know. I feel crazy saying this, but I have this weird feeling that Game Freak got it this time. I feel like maybe not all the things we're saying, but I feel like I feel like there's gonna be some things when this whole game comes into view. It's September, October, and we know what it is. I feel like we're gonna be like, wow, like this isn't another Pokemon. This is something new, and I feel like we're gonna get there. Hopefully they don't let me down. We talked about the Pokemon quite a bit in terms of the 3 that we've seen, but let's give a little shine to Smoliv, because I don't feel like we gave any shine. It's a small olive, and it's pretty adorable. Again, all
Precious
these Pokemon.
Even.
You are right there with the developers. Did you work on this game? Precious and relaxing, what they say, leisurely. Oh, God. Is there a world? Okay, is there a world where like we're just wrong, and this is like the most accessible, no town, no gym, you just kind of like go, oh my God.
Yeah, there is a huge potential chance that this is just a walking simulator with Pokemon thrown in.
Play with your friends. Oh God.
Everyone get on your Vespas or your legendary dragons and ride around and look at the cute little Pokemon.
God.
Yeah.
Tell us about Smoliv.
I think Smoliv is great.
Okay.
I think Smoliv is great. It's funny too. I remember seeing this. It was like a picture of a Gloom, what looks to be like a regional variant in this game. And so when I saw Smoliv, I was like, oh, like maybe that isn't the case, because with Pokemon now we have so many that a lot of the times you're not going to see these similar Pokemon in the same game. Like they'll feel like every generation we get like the normal bird,
right?
Like the bird Pokemon, like Route 1, whatever.
Right.
You never see them mix them. That's just because it's like design wise, there's already something filling that spot. So now that I see Smoliv, it's like, are they going to bring Oddish in? I don't know that there's going to really be a need for that. Granted, more Pokemon is always good. But I'm just thinking strictly like from game development standpoint. It's like, do you really need like how many of the electric rodents are we going to have in the game? Realistically, we're obviously going to have 2. All of them.
National
Get them
Dex,
all in.
baby.
Yeah. Hey, no towns, but we have all of the electric rodents.
Oh my God. It's literally a game where you go and it's, you don't, they have all the Pokemon. That's the selling point, but you just go around. That's it.
Just catching them.
Check out
That's
those
it.
flags,
Hey.
and maybe there's a battle. I don't know.
Every so often, there's like one trainer.
Please tell me if I'm completely wrong here, but when looking at this list, I mean, I'm looking at just like the 8 new that we have, the three starters, the 2 legendaries, and the 3 freaking whatever her name is, Nemona's all-star squad here. It almost gives me vibes of like, when you'll see Fakemon that are better than the actual new Pokemon, like that is kind of the vibe I get here. Am I wrong?
Yes. No, this 100%, these are Temtems. These are Koromon. These seem like they were designed by fans of Pokemon.
Which is great.
It's great. No, it's the best thing going forward. I really genuinely think that if you're going to make a game, have people who love the franchise make it. I mean, we see that in everything. Look at like Sonic Mania, for instance, right? We gave the game to fans and they made possibly the best game in the franchise. Right. I mean, I will say that like with Sword and Shield, if I remember correctly, they gave the game's designer, I want to say he became the art, the head of the art was James Turner, who is a fantastic artist, by the way. And that was very interesting because I believe it was the first time that we didn't have a Japanese lead in the game. And he's been a fan of Pokemon for a long time. I think Black and White is really when he started designing. Like he designed Braviary, for instance. Like, and I think with Sword and Shield, we saw a lot of interesting designs. And yeah, I think nothing bad comes out of giving people who are fans of your franchise a swing at things.
Yeah.
And I think you made a really good point. I never even thought about that. This has to be one of the strongest lineups for like early Pokemon shown. Like they are all heavy hitters, genuinely, you know?
Chunky even.
Yeah, exactly. So I think, like you said, I mean, everything's pointing that this is going to be the best Pokemon game. I think even off of everything that we know now, it's hard not to imagine that it's not going to be. You made a really, 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 really good point early on in this conversation, and it was that this is the first time that a trailer comes out, and instead of being like, oh, I think this is cool, it's like, how are they doing this? What is going on? Everything that we've been shown so far, everything, all of it has been a question. It hasn't been like a, oh, okay, so that's how we're doing it this time.
Right.
It's like okay, this is how we're doing it this time, but how does that work?
Yeah.
I even remember seeing a screenshot that the rival before she battles you is like, the dialogue said something along the lines of like, those three, like she refers to the three starters all being yours, which is like, very, very, very weird. The wording of it, I wish I pulled it up.
I'll pull it up.
Yeah, try to pull it up to get that exact wording, because it is
freaking you out.
It's freaking me out. I'm not gonna lie.
Are you these three's trainer?
What in the world is that? And the fact that, she has three coming out the gate.
What if you get all three?
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's just like what? Like, I really just think this game is setting itself up to destroy everything we know about Pokemon. Like, it is really going to be something that shakes the formula in a way that I don't think we're quite ready for. Even if you do just get one, like, everything that they are building towards, all of their focus seems to be in different places from what Pokemon was.
Right.
And that's kind of why I brought up before, like, I am a little concerned because I do think that the story of Pokemon is a draw. I know not for a lot of people, because a lot of people are going to be like, oh, it's childish, but
right.
It's always taken itself too seriously. It's always had this like cast of characters that are crazy and make no sense. I don't know why any random adult would have a team full of dragons and fight a 10-year-old thinking that they're like, the context of the world makes no sense, but that's the beauty of it,
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know.
That's
that
big
all
takeaway.
three starter thing is crazy.
We don't know. And I guess that what's next? Like, I mean, what do you want to see most next, and what do you think's next? I think, we obviously have, or we think we have, a Nintendo Direct coming. It seems that there's not a Pokemon Presents this summer, which is fine, but it does lead me to believe that Nintendo will either cover it in the Direct or whatever sort of makeshift treehouse type presentations they have. Like, I don't know. I just feel like there has to be more based on how reserved that trailer was. I feel like it is kind of just like the appetizer to some sort of main course dive into why this is Nintendo's big holiday game.
Yeah. I imagine a treehouse. I don't know, because like with Pokemon, the big reveal for Sword and Shield, they had like that 20-minute treehouse presents where they played it and kind of they were out in the wild area, and it was very, very like good. Like they showed so many mechanics. They really showed the game.
Yeah.
Without giving anything away. It was actually really well put together. But also, like, when it comes to directs, Pokemon, I don't know if it's just me. I feel like Pokemon thinks they're too big for directs. I feel like that's kind of like the fact that they even made Pokemon Presents just seems so like disrespectful to what a direct is. Where it's like you really think we're gonna be mixed with this? No, thank you. So I mean, ideally, I would like to see a direct where it's a gameplay overview. Gameplay is the only thing that has to be the next thing. Like it has to be what we see next. Like I want to see what the battle system is. I mean, obviously, it looks like we're going back to the regular turn-based fixed camera.
Right.
But like, can we initiate battles the same? Where if I throw my Pokemon right in front of another Pokemon, does it happen? What are we doing? Are we just walking into them? What's happening? I think that would really set the stage for everything else. I don't even need to know more about the open world, really. I trust that they're delivering on it. I just don't know in what way, like you said. Like, I don't know if we're getting towns. I don't know. Like, I don't know what's happening. I just know that it's going to be an open world. I'm fine with that information for now.
A precious open world.
A precious open world, yeah. Also, I want to see the Vespa. I really hope we have that.
I most want to see if there are towns. Like, I guess contrary to you, like, I want to know... I want to know, like, is this Legends where there's a starting town where you meet the professor and get your starter and then you just go out in this big world? And how do they justify that? I feel like there has to be, because you don't have the excuse that, oh, this is the ancient times and so, you know, it's a really barren area. Like, I know they were very, very sure to not show even a second of a town in this trailer, but I feel like they have to have them, and I really hope they do. For me, it'll be a big point of confusion if they don't. And I think I'm having some like PTSD from those Sonic Frontiers trailers where there's like nothing happening in the world. Yeah. But it's very interesting to me that when they show, there's a shot, since we were just, you know, kind of screen grabbing the trailer here, there is a shot where they show that supposed like gym, or what we think could hypothetically be a gym. Yeah. And they show the gym, and they show, I'm going to pull it up here, the gym, and they show this tower thing, and they show the flags, and all three of those scream like we are outside. Yeah. And that's the... I just hope that's where it gets concerning. Yeah, I hope that there's more than outdoor environments. And we have to believe, based on every other gen, that like, unless they're gonna be like, well, there was a apocalyptic war and everything is like, there. I guess the reassuring bit is in the initial reveal, we did see houses and we did see some more city-ish type stuff. So I'm hopeful that that gets more of a deep dive. And then I just really want them to explain the multiplayer, because as you said, like, how close do we have to be to do the Pokemon battle together? Is that even an option? Like, do I get a button prompt that like, Trainer Joe is over here battling, do you want to join him? Or is it like, we have to be physically on the same screen? We have to, like, what is this? How does this go about? Because this is, to me, the exact opposite of the fake co-op mode in Let's Go, where you were tethered. You know, it felt like a Lego game where you're like, you know, you're stuck together, and they make sure that you know, no, you're not tethered. You can go north, south, east, west. Yeah. I feel like they have to show it though this summer, because if I'm going based on what I think and know and have heard about Nintendo, there is no like secret Mario, there is no secret big huge game. So yes, they can show off the Metroid remaster, and yes, they can maybe show off a new Donkey Kong, but I feel like they have to have an anchor, and unless they're going to be wild and show Breath of the Wild too, then I feel like this has got to be the anchor. And I know like they don't like to be part of it, but at least the treehouse, like you said, I feel like they have to. I don't know. To me, the reason that the trailer is reserved is because there's more. Otherwise, it seems very strange. Yeah, I mean, look, we can dunk on Game Freak and the Pokemon Company as much as possible for any previous choices, but like, I'm sorry, they've really been doing well. Yeah, you know, I don't think it's really a bad opinion to have, and especially, you know, you bring up the Sonic Frontiers thing. I think that both of those reveals coming out on the same day did a lot for Pokemon. Like, it did a lot for Pokemon, because as a fan, I have never seen an announcement for Pokemon that was so positive, so overwhelmingly positive. Yeah. Like,
don't get me wrong. I saw some, like I said, like, oh, hey, the legendaries look like Digimon, but that's not a negative. That's just that's just, you know, an
observation
design wise, you know, it's an observation. Correct. Yeah, like, so to me, it's like, this game is finally giving Pokemon kind of the respect that really a game of this size should have. Like, there's no reason a game should sell this much and everyone hates it. Like, that was always the way I felt about Pokemon, where it's like, why do people hate Sword and Shield, but it's selling like crazy, you know? Like, there has to be some type of narrative that people are just at some point making up because they just don't want to see, you know, a kid's game get this big. But at the end of the day, like, this game clearly is doing something right, because everyone is on the same side of, like, I'm excited, worried, of course, because it's a new release, but I'm excited. And like you said, I think that they're reserved on purpose. There clearly is at least one town, you know,
at least
in
one
that announcement trailer. We saw at least one, and we saw even Pokemon in the town. I don't know, you know, if you remember that, but you know, they showed. So I do think that, like, they're aware of what people want, and I do think that they are definitely going to deliver on a lot of it. Again, it's just more so it's the little things. It's the how the 4-player co-op is going to work. It's the how the story is going to work. Is story even important? It's the things like that I think are going to be the questions going forward. But at the end of the day, I think we can all agree whatever this game turns out being is going to monumentally change what Pokemon is going forward. There's no way
one way or the other
around it.
Yeah. And I agree. Exactly. I feel like there is, obviously people are always excited for every new Pokemon game, but I do feel like for whatever reason, this one has much more positive momentum than any of the recent releases. And I think it's got to be just because it's on the coattails of Legends Arceus, and that was so well received that it's like, okay, they kind of get what they're doing. Maybe they are moving forward. Maybe they are taking some chances. And like you said, at the very least, it is different. And so we will see. I hope that we are rewarded. I hope that we are not traumatized. We've got leaks to talk about that build on this narrative of lots of new interesting things, and we will see you all again next week. Definitely let us know your take, your thoughts, any questions you have in the comments down below. Joseph, let's let you plug some of the things you do, because besides being a New York Pokemon professor, you also have some internet projects as well.
Yeah, so as of right now, I'm working on a couple things, but so that's going to be in the works. I'm sure later weeks I'll actually have stuff to super plug. But for now, you can follow me on Twitter, on Instagram. I post my art. I will be updating everybody on the projects I'm working on. Cool. So that is, my ats are at I'm the Joke, but joke is spelled JOHKE. Couldn't make it easy for you guys. But yeah, so if you guys want to, you know, see the stuff I'm working on, I do a lot of Pokemon art, so you guys will have that as well. That'd be awesome. But for now, that's all I have to plug. Gotcha. So thank you.
We'll throw those links in the description. Make sure to follow Joseph, and make sure to stay tuned for a new episode of Scarlet Fever coming your way soon. Big deep breath, and we just cross our fingers at this point, I think. Look, Lechonk should give us enough faith to at least last till next week, so we should be good for at least one more week. Thank you guys and girls so much for watching. Hope you're all having a fantastic day. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay happy, stay positive out there. SwitchForce out.